Can't decide and torn between a romantic, comedy, action, or an indie film to watch for the weekend? Well. Golden State Media Concepts Movie Podcast is your ultimate guide to the latest movies. Join us as we dissect the latest on the blockbusters. It's the Golden State Media Concepts Movie Podcast.
Welcome everybody to the GSMC Movie Podcast, brought to you by GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your host Arianne, and I'm joined here with the beautiful Heidi.
Hello.
Our two movies that we're going to be talking about on this episode is the John Wick series and the Jason Bourne series, or the Bourne series. I don't know.
Yeah, the Bourne series.
Yeah.
We're on some action movie series.
Yeah, we
this
are.
episode.
So action movies are pretty cool.
Agreed.
The John Wick. So the first one came out October 2014. The second one, called John Wick Chapter 2, came out January 2017. And then there's going to be a part 3 called John Wick. It starts with a P, like preliminary, something like that. No, that's wrong. Anyway,
John Wick 3 is coming out soon.
It will be May 2019, so look forward to that next year. Anyway, the directors are Chad Stahelski. Mm-hmm. He did 1, 2, and 3. He had some help on part 1 with David Leitch.
Mm-hmm.
Leitch. I don't know how to say his name. Anyway, so the summary of the first one was about John Wick. The man's name is John Wick. He's a legendary assassin who retired after marrying the love of his life. So sweet. And after a former colleague, mobster's son, his colleague is also like a mob boss, a former one. His son steals his prized car and a dog that his late wife left him as a way to not mourn by himself.
Right.
So it was a younger dog, so it got to grow with him.
Oh.
And anyway, this mobster's son stole his car and then killed his dog. And it was so sad. The mobster... So, after that happened, John Wick sets out for vengeance because he's like, you know what? That was the last thing my wife left me, and you killed it. And you stole my favorite car. So why would you do that? So he has like nothing to stop him. So he, of course, sets out for vengeance. The mobster knows his son will end up dead because he obviously knows John Wick. He's a former colleague and his capabilities there. And so in an attempt to save his son, the mobster guy, his name was Vigo. In an attempt to save his son, he kind of put a bounty on John's head for it was an open bounty for all the other assassins to take him out. Part 2, in another attempt to live his life as a civilian, John Wick, he is approached with a job that he cannot confuse due to the assassination organization's ancient code.
So why can't he refuse it?
Well, there's a code that they all go by, the assassins. So if you watch part 1, you understand that all these assassins follow this specific code.
Oh, yeah.
And per that code, if someone approaches you with a specific, it's called a gold tag or something like that. That means that you owe somebody. Oh. And so somebody approached him because he owed them a gold tag and he could not refuse this job. So in part 2, he ends up having to take this job and, of course, gets it handled and tries to live happily ever after that. But if you watched part 2, then you obviously know that they left it open for a part 3.
Of course.
So I want to say that I've seen both of these movies, and I like Keanu Reeves. I think he's great in playing an action star. So he knows, like, what is it? Martial arts. So he can make it look really realistic.
Yeah. And Keanu Reeves, as a person, not necessarily just as like an actor or a character, but he does do martial arts, and he knows about like rifles and guns, and like I think he's like a collector of firearms as well. So he, like, I feel like he's a very convincing action star. I've actually heard the argument that he's one of the best action stars.
Me too.
Because of also, like, The Matrix, which obviously he's very well known for.
Yes.
And just all the things that he's done. And I would really believe that. He plays it very well.
He does. With all of his experience that he has, it helps. I want to say that one of my favorite lines, it probably has to be one of my favorite line in the first movie of John Wick, where, so after the kid steals his car, he brings it to like this, I guess, it's not really a local car dealership, but it's within like the mobsters, the family's kind of dealers.
Right, after the mobster's son steals John Wick's car.
So yeah, he brings it to this dealer, this car dealer guy, and the dude like tells him, get that car out of here, because he knows what it's about.
John Wick's.
Yeah, and the kid is just like, well, why? No, whatever. And so the dealership guy like hits him in the face and then goes back and tells his dad, basically, or somebody tells him. And so the dad, Vigo, he calls up this dealership guy and he goes, well, I heard you hit my son. And the car dealer guy goes, yes, sir, I did. And Vigo says, well, may I ask why? And the car dealer guy says, yeah, well, he stole John Wick's car and killed his dog. And all Vigo said was, oh. And left it at that.
He knows.
Yeah.
He knows.
So there was no like, okay, well, no, I get it. Okay.
He knows his son is dead, basically. At that point.
Yeah. For seriously though, because like this, and it tells you that in the first one, if you haven't seen it, you would really enjoy it if you're into action and assassination kind of movies. The storyline for it, I feel like, is what really kind of catches you.
Right. Also, like the idea of like this, like like society of assassins.
Yeah.
Because like there is some really good like world building, because the world is basically our world, but there's like this part that we're just supposed to not know about of like assassins, and they have like an assassin hotel and like things where there are like assassin rules, like you were mentioning. And just like the like they all kind of know each other. Like the mob boss, he calls John Wick like Baba Yaga, which is because like he's Russian, of course, and so the mob boss is Russian.
Yeah.
And he's talking about how like John Wick is like this monster that will come out and like kill people who don't behave and like kill children that don't behave.
Right. Well, it was funny because the description he gave to his son, Vigo, the mob guy, when he said that to his son, and his son was like, the boogeyman, and he's like, no, he's who you hire to kill the boogeyman. Right. And it's like, oh, wait, what?
I also love how as he's saying that, it like cuts to a clip of John Wick like using a sledgehammer to break through concrete.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, he's coming for you.
Exactly. Because he's explaining to his son at that point, is like, he's determined, he's ruthless, he's this, and you can just see it all in his face as he's hitting the hammer through the concrete at that point. It's like, oh my gosh, you're gonna die.
Yeah. That's also what I love about this film, is like you kind of like, I feel like I'm not giving anything away by saying that's going to happen.
Right, exactly.
Like from the beginning of the film, and you that's going to happen, and like you're just like the whole time you're like, how is it going to happen?
Exactly.
How is it going to happen? Like the whole film you're waiting for that.
Exactly. And that's what I like about it too, because all the action in there is like, and then when it does happen, you're like, oh yeah.
Yeah, like, oh, I've been waiting for this.
Yeah. And you just hate the son in it anyway.
You do.
Because the first instant you meet him in his appearance in the movie, it's like, you're just a little punk jerk like in it. So it's like, yeah, I kind of deserve it, but then it's like, why would you do that? And then he has this another line of the young Vigo's son in there, and he's like, I'm not afraid of John Wick. And then like a security guard at the club he was at, he's like, well, you should be.
Yeah. Like, he knows. Everyone knows, basically.
Oh, it's crazy. And that's kind of what I liked about it, because even when they went to his house and they tried to kill him there after, and the police officer kind of knocks on the door and was like, there was a noise complaint, and he sees all the dead bodies, and John Wick's like, what? And he's like, well, are you working again? And he says no, and he's like, okay, well, I'll leave you to your business. And then just leaves. I was like, wow.
Also, I want to mention, like, in the cast, so, like, Keanu Reeves is John Wick, and I think he's great. But also, you will recognize, like, Vigo's son is played by Alfie Allen, who is also in Game of Thrones. And he's kind of like a Weasley like character, like, as you were saying, like, you really don't like this kid. You
really don't.
And he's kind of like that a little bit in like Game of Thrones as well.
Who does he play in Game of Thrones? I don't watch Game of Thrones. Sorry, people.
Who does he? You're gonna get.
I know people are gonna get at me.
He plays Theon Greyjoy.
Okay.
So yeah, he has that kind of face that you just don't like. Also, which I feel bad, I can never get over this. There's another character. His name is Dean Winters, who plays kind of like the mob boss's like part of the crew. He's like part of the mob's crew. And he is, I can never unsee this. He's known as Mayhem in all of the Allstate commercials.
Oh yeah.
All the insurance commercials. Yes. Who's like, I'm Mayhem, and he like just like drives your car into like a wall to like express how you need insurance.
Yep.
I can't unsee that whenever I see him.
Yeah, that's true. We're gonna take a quick break and come back and talk about more of John Wick, and then get into the Jason Bourne series.
Want to know the latest and hottest music hitting the airwaves? Don't be left out. Listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Music Podcast. Keith keeps you on the loop with everything you need to know from pop, rock, hip-hop, and the top 40. And we'll throw in news of your favorite artists, concert and tour dates, and so much more. Listen no further, because this is the gold standard in music podcast.
Welcome back to the GSMC Movie Podcast. We're going to continue talking a little bit more about the John Wick little series that's going on right now, with the first 2 films out and the third one coming out next year. I do want to say that if you've seen so if you're not a really big action like film kind of person, or you just kind of want to see what it's like, if you watch the first one, you don't really need to watch the second one, because it's just the same thing, just in a different way. You know, he's killing a whole lot of people for a reason,
right?
And that's it.
Yeah. I also feel like if you're into action, though, you will like both of them.
Exactly.
Because they're, in my opinion, they're very well done action films.
Yeah.
I mean, mostly because I think Keanu Reeves is great in it.
Me too.
Yeah.
Me too. I do like the storylines in both of them, though, because both John Wick 1 and Chapter 2, because it gives you more of an idea of the organization. And what I really like about the Assassins organization is how cordial they are to each other, which threw me, because they're just so polite and gentlemanlike,
and they have rules.
Yeah, exactly. Like the one scene, they're like, you can't perform any actions or whatever on some kind of property,
right? Because they have like an assassin hotel, and you're not allowed to kill anyone,
exactly,
or like attack another assassin when you're in the hotel. It's like neutral ground.
Yeah, exactly. And they all respect like the rules
for the most part.
Yeah, for the most part. But how they treat each other is so, it's like I said, cordial, which is funny to me, because they're like all these super killer gangster people, and they're just so nice to everybody, and how they talk to each other is just really formal too. So I thought that was kind of cool, learning about the world of the assassination people and stuff like that. So I really liked that about John Wick, in both of them, and kind of like learning the deeper details of that, and how deep it goes, because it tells you in part 2 at the very end how much of a contribution these assassins, like how they control a lot of things in the world around us. So they're like, we can put a bounty on your head. I think in part 2 he was talking to one of the like head lead guys, and
like lead assassins,
or a lead of the organization, and was kind of telling John Wick, you've broken all these organization rules, like I can have a bounty on your head in a second and just send out a mass text or whatever.
Right.
And he was just all like, do what you got to do, basically. And then as soon as he turns around, like 5 people with their phones in their hands just look at him. And it's like, oh my gosh, you're gonna die.
Oh no.
Yeah,
Keanu.
I know. Which about John Wick, it's like you want him to just be able to just chill and relax, because it does give a little bit of backstory about why he wanted to quit, after he met his wife, his late wife, and just kind of wanted to settle down and be out of the business. So you just kind of wish that he was just okay.
You wish
but
that
then,
he could.
Yeah, but then you see what he's capable of, and you're just like, dang, you are ruthless.
He is, and he's like, I think that's one of the most enjoyable things is to be like, you're good at this.
Yeah.
You know, because it's like enjoyable to watch someone who's good at something.
It is.
Like do what they're good at.
Right.
And like, he just does it so well, you know, and it's so impressive. And like, he like, as an actor is very convincing in that role. And also I wanted to mention one of the things that like when I've talked to other people about this film who had seen it like before I had seen it, specifically John Wick 1, they were just like blown away because they're like, one of the best things is that you see the constant like gun reloading. Like you see like him empty out the shells and then put in new bullets, because a lot of times in action films it's like people's guns just have like forever amounts of ammo and you never see them reload. Because like the reloading is like when you're vulnerable because you're like refilling your gun. And so like that happens a lot in this film. They're like, yeah, that's one of the most realistic parts of a not that realistic film, but they're like, that's one of the things that makes it so good, and I like noticed that a lot.
And he does do that, and even the preparation, like when he's getting ready, you can see like he puts on his little all black suit, but you can see him getting like all the magazines for his gun, and he has a bulletproof vest, and it shows like all the precautions he's taking and the steps he takes to prepare for what he's about to do. So it's like you said, like all the ammunition he needs is not like an everlasting ammo gun that he has. It is pretty cool. And I like that about it. And it shows it in both of them too. He even like has the silencers, and then like people who hear it, they like turn around. You're like, oh wow. So it's not just like, why didn't anybody turn around when he just shot that person? So the people, what I liked about it also was because of the legendary assassin that he is, when people of that organization see him, they kind of just give him that look like, we thought you were retired, like why are you here? So that you can see the fear that everybody knows who he is and what he's capable of. For sure. I don't think because in a lot of movies, the second one, the follow-up, or even the third one, it kind of just is not as good as the first, original. And I feel like the second one was right up there with the first one. Like both of them, the action was great, the storyline was great, gives you more in detail about the organization, stuff like that. But I liked both of them. I can't wait till part 3 comes out because I'm going to see that.
You're going to go in theaters?
Of course. Of course.
You're going to be talking back to them during
I will.
Oh,
so
good.
I'll probably have to go to a matinee by myself. Which we all know why. But anyway, we're going to move on to the Bourne series. There were 5 of these movies. Now, I did not know that because I just don't know why. I thought there were only 4. So there's the Bourne Identity, which came out June 2002. Bourne Supremacy, July 2004. Bourne Ultimatum, August 2007. The Bourne Legacy, which I thought this was the last one, came out August 2012. And then this one called Jason Bourne came out July 2016, 2 years ago. I didn't even know about this one.
Wow. These are some good summer blockbuster films.
Yeah, if you're into action and all that, I think that was amazing. I watched the first 2. I have to say, I did watch the first 2. When Ultimatum came out, I wanted to go watch it. I don't know why I never went. I don't remember that. And then I remember when Legacy came out, and I was like, oh yeah, I want to go watch those, and never did.
No. You're not supporting Jason.
I know, I'm not. But anyway, so there were 3 different directors for these. So the first film, Bourne Identity, the director was Doug Liman. And then for 2, 3, and 5, the director was Paul Greengrass. And then for part 4, which was Bourne Legacy, Tony Gilroy directed that one. I don't know why Paul Greengrass took a break and didn't do part 4, and then came back for part 5. I don't know what the issue there was, but anyway, just kind of a quick summary of the series itself. I'm not going to go through each movie, but of the series itself, Jason Bourne, played by Matt Damon, is trying to figure out who he really is, because he wakes up and kind of doesn't know where he is or why.
Right. He has amnesia, basically.
So he's going along trying to figure out who he is, where he's from, all this stuff. And along the way, he finds out a lot about the bad things that he's done, and who kind of throughout who he's an organization who he has worked for, who kind of created this Jason Bourne person.
Right.
So he kind of starts to put he eventually gets all the pieces of the puzzle put together, and figures out who he is and the organization, and then goes after the organization. And so he kind of accepts that, tries to, at first he tried to stay away, but then he's like, no, forget this. You guys kind of messed up my life. So he goes after them and kind of tries to take them out. And then there's obviously conflicts along the way. And then it goes on. I think in the last one, I tried to watch Jason Bourne the other night, and I don't know if it's because I didn't watch part 3 or 4, but I just couldn't get into it. I don't know what it was. I really like action, but it didn't seem like it evolved. The story evolved from 1 and 2. It all looked the same. So I don't know. Maybe I should go watch 3 and 4 to see what I missed.
Maybe catch up on all of your, all your action.
Exactly.
A lot of action, a lot of chases. And
right. I did like the first 2, though. I enjoyed them.
Yeah, I agree. I think also part of, like, I feel like it's hard to watch Jason Bourne without knowing, like, the whole canon around who Jason Bourne is. Like, that he's a deadly assassin and whatever. But, like, watching the first one, like, filmed back in 2002, you're like, oh wow, look at young Matt Damon finding out that he's an assassin, and like going after all these people and like trying to run away, as you were saying, from the organization that made him who he is. And I think also if you're a fan of conspiracy theories, you will probably like this film.
Definitely, because it doesn't even hint around that. It just basically says what it is.
Right.
It's just like, it could be, no, this
is exactly what's going on.
Yeah. We created you, and this is for what reason.
Yeah.
So on that, we're going to take a quick break and come back and finish talking about the Bourne series.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
Welcome back to the GSMC Movie Podcast. We're going to continue, or I guess finish, talking about the Jason Bourne series. I do want to say I did like the storyline on this. I thought it was pretty cool about how it was more conspiracy, like how Heidi said. And then I like the amnesia part, because then you get to go along and learn things about Jason as he is,
right,
and about the organization just like him. You know what I mean? So you see everything, and you have to kind of pay attention in these ones, because all the things, a lot of the pieces of his puzzle, like, you see. So it's not like really spoken about until he's explaining it to somebody else, and he doesn't really have any allies. So you just kind of piece it together just like him by seeing certain things and things that he finds,
right,
stuff like that. So I thought that was cool as far as like a mystery kind of
I love that you are along for the journey in Jason Bourne. And I would say I like John Wick and Jason Bourne, but I think I enjoy the story of Jason Bourne a little more because of that like discovery factor.
Right.
So I feel like in John Wick I know generally what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Like there are little twists like, ooh, an assassination society, which is kind of cool to find out. But the Jason Bourne twists are a little more investigative.
Right.
And I enjoy that.
Yeah. And it's like the two differences there is like with John Wick, it's like you feel for him because he just kind of wanted to relax and be a civilian and kind of be on with his life, retire, do what retired people do. Even though he wasn't that old, he just wanted
to go golfing, you know.
Exactly. So it's like, oh, I feel for you. But then in Jason Bourne, in the Bourne series, you're like, I want to figure out too. Like, so you're more amped about it, you know.
Agreed.
I really like the story. I should go back and watch 3 and 4 just so I can get a idea of how or when, because I don't even know. I know he figures out who he is, and at the end they mention his name, his original name before they made him Jason Bourne.
Oh gosh,
was David Webb, and yeah, I want to know what happened there.
Now I feel all sad. I'm like, oh, they took so many things away from you.
But then, like in the flashbacks, when I was watching Jason Bourne, the last one, it was showing like almost like he volunteered for all this.
Oh no!
But then he kind of finds out from how much I watched. I fell asleep. I'm not even gonna lie. I fell asleep during this movie because I was like, I couldn't follow it, and I feel like that's just because I didn't watch 3 and 4. So I don't want to say anything negative about that. But he kind of figures out that his dad was employed.
Oh no.
And yeah, so he knew his dad was working with the organization, but indirectly. And this chick who's played by Julia Stiles, she comes up in I think part 2, and then she's along for the ride also, but she kind of tells him like, no, your dad was a direct player in this, and they've been watching you since you were a kid.
Oh my god.
And it's like, what? So you know, they find their twist. I have to say, I'm not a fan of Julia Stiles in these films. She's not a really good I liked her in 10 Things I Hate About You, but I don't feel like she was really a strong asset in this series. Like her acting was limited.
She's in the first one too.
Oh, is it
she starts in the first one.
Okay. Yeah, but I do like the storyline. I think Matt Damon is a great actor. He and with his I don't know how much martial art background he has, but he looks like Keanu Reeves makes it look better. I just have to say, just because of his background in, you know, firearms and martial arts. But I feel like Matt Damon has somewhat of a background, so he can do a lot of his own stunts and all that stuff.
Looking at Matt Damon, he looks like more like muscular, I guess you would say. But Keanu Reeves, like when he moves, he like moves better. Yeah, it seems more natural.
Exactly.
I agree.
I do want to give a little bit of some comparisons of the two. Which I feel like a lot of assassination series get dragged on just because you can make a story and keep it going.
Because there are like 5 Jason Bourne movies.
Yeah, and I feel like it all could have been handled in like 3, maybe even 4, but I feel like 3 would have been enough. And I really hope they don't do that with the John Wick series, just because I like John Wick's character and what he's capable of and what he does and everything. So with part 3, I hope they ended on that.
I also hope they don't make a 6th Jason Bourne.
Yeah.
Because they don't need that.
Yeah.
They already changed the title for the last one from all the just Bourne Legacy, Bourne Ultimatum, Bourne Supremacy. Now it's just Jason Bourne.
Yeah.
They can't go past that.
Right.
They shouldn't go past that.
They shouldn't. That's the final.
Yeah.
That's it.
Also, Matt Damon's getting older.
Yeah.
Don't put him through that again.
Seriously. And you can tell the age from 2002 to 2016. You can, and it's like, okay, we get it. Right. It's almost like beating a dead horse. It's like, okay, how much longer are you going to do that? So, but I hope they don't do that with the John Wick series. They can just leave that alone, because even Keanu Reeves is getting older too.
I know.
You know,
they should really,
call it good. And also it's, what did I say? It's, a lot of, these assassin movies, I feel like if you've seen one, you've seen them all, because they're all about just killing people, and there's a reason why. So the selling point is like the storyline. And, some people like to watch people die. I'm not one of them. I just like the action. Maybe that is do I like to watch people die? No, I'm over here second guessing myself.
Deep for the movie podcast. Do we have a psychology podcast?
No, I don't know. I don't know if I would want to be involved in that one. But anyway, I just, if you like the storyline, then you'll enjoy watching all the series of that specific story, like the Jason Bourne series or the John Wick ones. But
right. Also, I want to mention Keanu Reeves is 54.
And he looks amazing.
I know, and he's doing a 3rd John Wick.
Yeah, I think it's already filmed, actually, or in the making, because I heard about this like a year or so ago.
I mean, that's still old.
Yeah. Yeah, he looks good though. So I hope they don't drag out, the series. I personally like seeing Keanu Reeves in action films more than I do Matt Damon, just because I know like Matt Damon can be hilarious if he really wants to. So can Keanu Reeves, but that was like in his olden days, like when he first started, like in Bill and Ted and stuff like that. He played like the ditzy friend or whatever. But yeah, the Bourne series, if you're into that and really like to go along for the ride for action, that's a good series to watch. I do believe each of those are around 2 hours long. They're long movies. Yeah. So and same with John Wick. I think John Wick was about it was just over 2 hours, and then chapter 2 was a little bit over 2 hours.
Yeah, they're definitely longer. Also, I was watching this at night, and I have to say I felt bad for all my roommates because the continuous gunshot sounds were probably not appreciated.
Right.
Also, on a side note, if we're doing ages, Matt Damon is 48.
Okay,
so he's still older.
Behind.
He's still younger than Keanu Reeves, which is amazing because Keanu Reeves looks great.
Yeah,
but
not saying that Matt Damon.
Oh no, he looks
great,
good too.
But
I'm just saying Keanu Reeves is a bigger surprise
for
me. But yeah, man, Matt Damon, you shouldn't do any more of these Jason Bourne films. You gotta like protect your knees or something.
Exactly,
your joints.
Older.
Yeah, you don't need that.
No, protect yourself. But yeah, I feel like those are two really good series to watch. I liked both of them. I'm gonna have to go back and watch 3 and 4 of Jason Bourne in the Jason Bourne series, and I can't wait till part 3 comes out. What did you think of each of them?
I really like them. These are really solid action series.
Yeah.
If you want to like watch, like if I feel like these are good films to watch with other people.
Yes.
Like if you're having like a get together and you want to watch like a fun movie, as opposed to like, I don't know, like the Transformer series or something. Like these series are way more solid. Yeah. Even though like elements can be repetitive, I would say they're still really fun. They're quality action films.
Yeah, they are.
They're kind of long, but they're also like classics.
Yeah.
Everyone knows Jason Bourne.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
I highly suggest. And you get to watch young Matt Damon wearing like early 2000s sweaters and everything.
Oh my gosh.
With like the giant collars. It's great.
It's crazy. But anyway, those are our 2 movies reviews for this action review, I guess we would call it. Thank you so much for listening, and join us on the next movie podcast.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Movie Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.